Want to give a quick shout out to all my patrons. Thank you so much for all of the continued support. And I am done. Okay, so I just finished reading The General of Israel by pirateaba. This is book number 6 of The Wandering Inn, which wraps up volume number 4. And I want to give you my spoiler-free review and some spoilers at the end upon finishing the book, which was literally just right now. So this book gets a 5 stars from me, and just a very interesting mix of the worst stuff that I've read from The Wandering Inn, which isn't all that bad when compared to other series, but it also, contrasting that with the very best stuff that I've read from this series. I was fully ready to give this book a 4 stars at best, as I read like the first 2/3 of this, but when I got to that final third, I was just blown away and could not help but giving it another 5 out of 5 stars. So I want to talk about the blown away stuff really, really badly, but I can't really do that without spoiling, so I'm going to split this review up in something that I'm going to kind of do going forward in my reviews, where I talk, for a good amount of time doing my normal spoiler-free section, but then very openly saying when the people that haven't read this should leave, and I'll talk to the people that have read this, and we can talk all the spoilers, which I can't wait to do in this book. So while I have everybody, let's talk briefly about The Wandering Inn. For those of you, every time I do one of my reviews, I get more people saying, Matt, okay, finally I'm going to read it. So clearly there's people watching this that have not read any Wandering Inn. So very, very quick recap of what's going on here. The Wandering Inn is the longest fantasy series of all time. It is currently being written at a blazing speed that will put Brandon Sanderson to shame as a web serial free on thewanderinginn.com. So if you want to read this, just go to the website. You can get them. Or if you're like me, you can get them for like $3.99 per book on ebook, and it's huge. Like each of these books are over 1,000 pages. One of them's like over 2,000 pages. So super cheap for $3.99. Or you can get the audiobooks, which I have not listened to, but I'm told that it's some of the best audiobook narration that you're ever going to find. So that's how you get it. But the series is enormous. A very quick summary of what the series is all about. It is, imagine if these young adults, it feels like in their early 20s or so, instantly found themselves teleported into like a Dungeons and Dragon-esque world, totally filled with classes and levels and stat points and special skills they have and magical items and talking beasts. And they're just thrown in here without any experience towards it and trying to find their way in the world. It's got this amazing mix of all different types of fantasy in it. It's got a lot of like slice of life, just trying to live a daily life, and is the main character here. And the main character kind of gets loosely associated because there's a lot of different characters that get brought up, but the main character here is an innkeeper, and you see this like daily how to run an inn, spending time with people, just a character study. But you also get this great mix of like epic fantasy, some kind of horror elements, and all just different types of things going on here to really have this really amazing mix of all different kinds of kind of genres going in here. So let's talk a little bit now that you understand this background. And before that also, let me just say the series is amazing. It's turning into one of my all-time favorites. And it's just each book feels like we're marching towards bigger and better stuff, and I just can't wait to catch up. I don't know that I ever will. I think I read these slower than the author writes them, which is mind-boggling, and I'm like only maybe a quarter of the way through, maybe less. So yeah, truly crazy how much is out there, but if you just kind of give up that idea that I'm going to catch up, just roll with it. Go read a book, maybe 2. Feel what you're feeling. Read it as you need. These things are all web serial based, so each chapter feels like its own little isolated arc. So you can just read a chapter every now and then and be totally fulfilled, and not feeling like most other books where you're going to get these cliffhangers, you're going to get these long chapters, and you have to read a lot of chapters to kind of get anything out of it. Not like that at all. You can read these little half-hour to hour-long chapters and totally feel like you read something new and fresh and be happy with your reading that day. So let's talk a little bit about the things that I did not care for here to start with. So before I go into this, though, I need you to understand that the writing style of a normal Wandering Inn book. So we have our main set of characters that all kind of hang in and around the Wandering Inn, which is this inn outside of a city that a lot of the story takes place out of. But then you get these side stories that are usually kind of like loosely tied into the main story. It may very well turn into extremely connected over time, but at this point in the story, they feel very disparate and on different continents and have nothing to do with the rest of the story. So those side stories are usually like regular-sized books in normal people writing, and you get the chapters back to back until that little story arc is over. So, for example, you might get this character who is doing this thing on another continent. You'll get like 4 or 5 chapters of them back to back to back to back. A total, each chapter is its own little arc, but the greater thing is an arc, and then we're going to be done with that character for quite a long time and go back to kind of the main story. So the one big tangent story that we got in this one was this character called the Clown. The Clown is this character's class. This character is, which is kind of a common theme in a lot of these side characters, where they take these classes that are not familiar to the main characters of the story. So in this world, there are no clowns, but kind of one of the themes of the story is you can be anything you want to be as long as you personally believe it. So this character came in believing that they wanted to be a clown, which sounds like a ridiculous class to be, but this character has very fearsome skills that almost like a killer clown. But also it goes with the kind of like psychotic nature of clowns, where it might not be all right in the head. So this character is a little bit insane. And while there are some other tangents in this story, the clown's the big one that got this kind of full-sized arc in it. Now, while there is stuff to enjoy about this character, I found that the clown chapters to be some of my least favorite stuff that I've read in any of the Wandering Inn so far. Like, I don't want to go into any details about these chapters, so I won't spoil anything. But while I find that the conflict this character's in to be, and like the continent that this character is taking a part in, something we haven't got to experience much at all outside of this character, I don't find this character themselves to be very interesting. Like, I don't particularly love this character. You know, I think that the writing of this character is excellent. Some of the better writing that pirateaba's done, especially because it follows like this first-person perspective of a character who's quite literally insane. So that the technical aspects of making this believable are very well done. I just don't really love the character. Now, I have gotten a very minor spoiler that I would be happy to share with you. It actually makes me happy that I heard it. And that we don't get a lot more clown. We get other character point of views from this conflict, and while this clown character is in them, it's not the point of view, and that will solve my problem with this character quite a bit. I don't mind the character, I just don't like being in the character's head. So getting more of the character in that part of the world without having to be in the head would be very pleasant of a reading experience for me, and I can't wait to kind of get to that point. So after we get an extremely sizable portion of the book, we get back to the main characters of the inn. And to be honest, it's kind of like forgettable stuff with not a lot happening outside of basic character development. Now, I happen to love the character development that goes on in these books, but I don't love it just for that. And I need more to the story to keep me really, interested in what's going on outside of just, development of character. We've gotten so much character development. I kept on feeling like asking the author, where is this all going? What is the point to these chapters? Is it just truly, meat to the story and just adding some, padding to it? I know that this book was like the last one in an arc. So the way these books work is, take away the books for a second. The Wandering Inn is set into volumes, okay? And the volumes can be many different chapters in various lengths of volume, okay? And the volumes themselves have kind of a beginning, middle, and end to them. And the whole series as a whole has a beginning, middle, and end to it. And we're probably around somewhere in the middle of it, right? Well, the books themselves, the books that I am reading, don't strictly follow the volumes, because the volumes would be huge. Like, a volume can be many thousands of pages long, and you just can't make a book like that. And so, like, I just finished, I think this is book 6, and I think this wraps up volume number 4, or maybe volume number 5, but I think volume number 4. And so I knew that reading this, that it's the last one in one of these volumes. But I just kind of kept feeling like it was the beginning of one, because all we're getting is character development. And it was just kind of the slow, meandering nature to these stories that, it's okay, but not the best stuff ever written. It's nice, but look, we're over 2 million words into the story by this point. We've had more words in the story up to this point than Robert Jordan wrote in the entire Wheel of Time. So it kind of feels like we're past the point of doing this kind of cozy writing, but, it is what it is. But that all changed in the back end of this book. And what we ended up getting was a truly amazing, epic fantasy story that feels like everything has been leading up to this point. The 2 million plus words that I've read so far, it really, all of it was driving to this, which is just amazing. And this long, drawn-out story up to this point makes these moments all the more impactful. This would have not been as entertaining if we kind of came out of the gate, we read a normal, a couple books before this point. No. You love these characters by this point. So to finally see this all kind of come together is just a truly wonderful thing. That just to read that much, and only now are we getting to what I believe the crux of the story is an incredible feat in literature that is a wonderful experience to be able to go through if you can make it that far. So the sequences we get here are so satisfying. They wrap up some amazing plot points, this wonderful character threads, and they turn in this huge corner of this book and leave me absolutely giddy about where this story is headed. So before I go into the spoilers, wrapped up, great stuff, love where the series is going, can't wait to read the next volume. And if you are not reading this story yet, you really have no excuse. I mean, your excuse may be that I don't want to buy it. Well, you don't have to buy it. Just go read it for free on the website. Your excuse may be, I don't want to get invested in this huge, long, drawn-out story. Well, don't worry about that. Just read a few chapters and see what you think, and don't stress out about having to catch up. You're not going to catch up. And if you do, great, but don't plan on it. You don't need to. It's fine. If your excuse is you don't think you're going to like the style of writing here, you've heard negative things about the writing quality, yeah. But guess what? This author started writing this series and was down here in terms of writing quality. But after a few books, now the author's up here. So you're going to watch growth, not just in the characters, but in the writer themselves, which is amazing. So look, you don't have an excuse that you haven't read this yet. Go on the website, check out a few chapters, and I bet you get hooked like most people do when they read this. All right, so now let us talk spoilers. Check out the spoiler alert. If you are at this point in my video and you have not read this, tune out now. I'll see you in the next video. But for all those staying here, let's chat. So this was awesome. So I'm going to focus these comments on the back part of this story, the stuff that I loved. Being able... I can just talk spoilers. This is so I feel like a big freedom on here. I never get to talk spoilers with you people. So let's talk about Zell. So Zell has been one of my favorite characters, and I don't have to talk about who Zell is. This is so cool. You know who Zell is. You've read this. But Zell's one of my favorite characters. I love everything about this character. And to see this character die is incredible. Now, I'm sad about it. Zell's my boy. And I'm very sad that he died. But it's so amazing from a story perspective. I love the bravery that pirateaba has put out there to kill off a beloved character. And I'm clearly not the only person that loves this character. I bet almost everybody does, because he's written in a very likable way. But I've been reading this story for a while and feeling like these characters have not just a little plot armor, but an incredible amount of plot armor. Now, people have died, but nobody really that important. Now, we had, how am I forgetting his name? But we had the 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐿, I think, the leader of the Horns of Hammerad. He died, but he didn't. So reading this story now, I'm realizing he's not dead. So no real substantial characters have died. Some, bit part characters. We had the, what was it, the zombie class, or I forgot what it was, zombie that died off. But look, it got brought up. We had a little character arc and then it died. We've had a couple little other ones, but nothing big. So to see the author kill off this character does so many important things that I've been saying that fantasy authors need to do more and more of, and that I've been upset that pirateaba has not done. And it's something that I think made A Song of Ice and Fire so popular. Killing off Ned was a masterstroke, because not only did you surprise people, but more importantly, you made the rest of the series feel like there's more tension. Now, I don't know who's safe and who's not. That makes every time that we come into conflict that much more important. And I love that 𝗨 finally did this. So 𝗨, screw you for killing off one of my favorite characters, but bless you for having the guts to do it, and you're making me so much more invested as we go along. More than that I loved that, I love this device of making all of the conflicts kind of come together here. As you have, what's her name? The lady who is bringing everything together now. How am I possibly forgetting her name? She's very important to the story. Whatever, we'll move on. I read too many fantasy books. But to see that she's seeing this greater conflict going on here with the goblins, seeing the Antinium, seeing the emperor down south, the one that got resurrected and is about to go on a rampage and kill everybody, to see all of these different things going on around the world, and her being the one person that is looking at this going, this is a problem. We need to put all of our problems aside and work together like we have in the past. We need to get humans together. We need to get drakes together, and we got to focus here. And Magnolia, and that's her name, Lady Magnolia. It's just beautiful because as the reader, we've been saying that, right? We've been saying, God, you just focus on the important things here, people. Clearly, getting another goblin king would be atrocious for all living life in the world, right? Why are they not coming together? Well, she finally is. So she's speaking what we feel and putting it into action. But furthermore, it feels like she's tying up all of these different plot threads that have gone on into not only bringing them into the fold, but also making a cohesive story to the greater world. Up to this point, I have had this feeling like we've got these side characters doing their thing, and the reason that they are there is for flavor to the story. We get this character, we get this medic character, we got the clown, we got the emperor, and while the emperor is getting a little more tied in because he's not very far away, he's close to some of the other characters, it feels like it's just there to tell a story, which on its own is nice, right? But they got to get tied in some way. And it feels like this is the way that they're going to get tied in. So for the first time in reading The Wandering Inn, I'm finally getting that sense that 𝗨 knows what they're doing, that they have this greater thing going on. And they're not just writing just for the sake of writing, doing that Stephen King thing, right? I'm just going to sit down, I'm going to write whatever's in my head. I now believe that 𝗨 has scripted out this story. I know that they've told me this in my interview, but now I'm seeing it, that there is a plan, and this is the way the plan is going to unfold. Now, maybe that totally gets blown out of the water. Maybe something else totally happens, and I'm absolutely off base. But I don't think that's it. I think we're finally bringing it home. And when I say that, I mean we've got millions and millions and millions and millions of more words to read until we finally get to that ending. But I have faith that that ending will be amazing. And it all ties to this Magnolia character and the effort that she's putting out there. So I'm in love. I'm in love. It's my favorite stuff that I've read in The Wandering Inn thus far. And it makes me just so happy to know that that vision is there and that I can go through reading this story with that sense of happiness there, that really it's all going to come together. So I could talk more. I'm not. This video has gone very long. I still have another video to make tonight. So I'm going to wrap it up. Can't wait to read more Wandering Inn. Thank you so much to the people that have told me to read this. I'm finally doing it. And to anybody else watching this that makes YouTube videos, go read this. Go do a review. Help this author out. Help this series out. It deserves your attention. It deserves your read. And yeah, that's it for me. So thank you so much. And as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier and Librarian tier patrons: Anna G, CJ, Doust, Darren, Gregory, Jonathan, Nathan T, Nev's Book Channel, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, Ron Reich, Russell, Ryan L, Sydney Baker, Tahir, Anna, Andra, Blair, Brock, Evan, Fanixan, Harry B, Joe, Kat Mick, Maria, Michael Sugarman, Sky, TW57, Wacky, and Zion. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video, and if you want to watch some more content from my channel, click over here and I've got some good videos for you. Thanks so much.